Hi, my name is Bob Riler, and I work for Pierce County Aging and Disability Resources, and we're part of the county's Human Services Department. And our goal for the department is to help older adults and people with disabilities stay in their home, stay active, stay safe as long as possible here in the community. And we do a variety of presentations, and this one is going to focus on talking with your doctor. Over the years, the whole philosophy of medicine has changed substantially. And what your expectation of a doctor would be and what the doctor's expectation of you as a patient will be are oftentimes significantly different. And so this is an opportunity for us to kind of take a look at both perspectives and see how you can both benefit from whatever time you have with the physician. As you know, doctor appointments go very, very quickly. I think the average now is between 5 and 7 minutes, if you're lucky. So you've got to pack a lot of information into your visit with your doctor, and the doctor has to get a lot of information from you, so it's important for you, especially as a patient, to be prepared. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you ask questions, how you should speak up, making informed decisions, which is really the key to the whole relationship now, and communicate with your other providers. So the first part is putting things together, and that's your responsibility as a patient. And it means you sit down at your kitchen table and you do your homework. And it usually takes a little bit of time to do it. So as you're thinking about going into the doctor, what are you going to need to take with you? You're going to need to take your glasses, your hearing aids, very practical things. You might want to take a friend or a family member. Things with a doctor sometimes go so fast, and things happen so quickly that it's hard for you to remember because you're trying to follow your agenda, your needs, and sometimes it helps to have a second person with you to kind of hear that dialogue a little bit better and to take notes. And in some cases, if English is not your first language, you may want to have somebody who can serve as an interpreter or to help with interpretation. So all that can be easier said than done. So let's take a look at what it looks like to get ready for your appointment and to prepare to share the information that you've got and to make decisions with your doctor. That's an important word. And then at the end, how to connect with your pharmacist. So those are our two really key players in this whole thing. So getting ready. First thing you want to do is assemble all your other doctor's information. If you have a primary care physician and a couple of specialists or whatever, you want to get all their contact information together so that there can be communication back and forth. So you might want to have that anyway, not just because of this particular visit, but you want to have that contact information. Get all your insurance cards, your Medicare card, all that stuff together. Those numbers, we're a society that depends on numbers, and there's no getting around it. You need all that documentation. Medical history. A friend of mine once said, when you turn 65, you buy yourself the biggest 3-ring binder you can buy, and then for every visit, you put the paperwork in there. Every visit. Whenever you go to the doctor, you take that 3-ring binder with you, and you've got everything with you all at the same time. So if you've got something like that, your medical history, that's going to be really great. It's going to save you and the doctor an awful lot of time. And then lastly, all the medicines that you've got, all the prescriptions that you're taking. That includes the supplements that you buy, the over-the-counter things, any kind of special medications that you might buy. Yes, it does include if you're taking any sort of cannabis or CBD oils or anything like that. You got to have that all together as a list, and there's no fudging on it. You've got to have the list of all of your prescriptions. The eye drops, that's included. Vitamins, everything you can imagine. Take that with you as a big list. And then when you think about the appointment, what are the things you want to bring up? What are the symptoms that you're dealing with? When do they occur? And when are they the worst? When are they missing? You kind of look at your life and see how things are transpiring. And the little tricks that you might have learned to alleviate some of the symptoms that you're dealing with. And for me, I've got to admit it, it's chocolate ice cream. That seems to alleviate any kind of a problem that I've got. I love it, but my doctor doesn't, so he tells me to knock it off, and so far I'm not being very successful. So now we go see the doctor. This is when all of your homework, you take it with you, and it's going to pay off. So the first thing you do with your doctor is bring your patient's hat, because you're going to have to sit in the waiting room for a while. But once you get in with the doctor, you're going to want to talk about all of your symptoms. What are they? When do they happen? When don't they happen? What makes them better or worse? How they affect you? Maybe they don't affect you much, but it's just something you live with. Bring all that with you, because it's things that you've thought about, the day or two or week prior. And then share the information with your doctor. All of your medications that you're taking. Tell the doctor about your habits. That includes the glass of wine that you have every night, or the herbal tea, or the ice cream, or whatever it is. Share with the doctor about your habits. Hopefully it's not smoking. That's one of those habits we have to get over. And voice any other concerns that you have. And that might be stresses in our lives. Things that are bothering us from the outside that we may or may not have much control over. It's good to bring all of that to the doctor's attention. Don't assume the doctor's going to see what the problem is. Just because you have a rash on your face, don't assume that the doctor sees the rash on your face. The doctor may not. Some people have, I'll just be kind of blunt here, some people's complexion is kind of rashy, and other people not. So if you have that kind of a rash type of complexion, the doctor may not pick up on it. So don't assume the doctor sees what the problem is. This is a guy thing. Don't minimize the problem. Guys love to minimize. Oh, it's not really that bad. I've got to tell a story about my dad. My dad, God love him, God rest in peace. He'd go to the doctor, and we'd kind of do because for weeks and weeks and weeks he complained about how his leg hurts. His leg hurt so bad. His leg hurt tremendously. He couldn't walk. He couldn't move. Go to the doctor. Doctor says, "How are you?" And he says, "I'm fine. Things are going really well. I don't know why I'm here." We just kind of all hung our heads. And so don't minimize. Be honest. Be upfront. If you want to exaggerate a little bit, that's your choice. But just don't minimize the issue that you're dealing with. Those issues sometimes, you got to be honest. And then there's a dialogue. You talk to the doctor about what's going on. The doctor asks you some questions. You answer those questions. The doctor gives you some possibilities. You answer about those possibilities. It's a back and forth. It's a tennis match, back and forth, a communication forum. So it's a chance for you and the doctor to have a give and take, and for the doctor to better understand really what you're doing and what you're not doing, and the things that maybe the doctor might be able to do to help you. So it's really that dialogue that you've got to pay attention to. And then the doctor may say, well, we need to run a couple of tests. That's fine. This is kind of a divergent personal comment here, but we do live in a society that depends on a lot of legal things, and doctors like to cover themselves, and so they have us take tests just to make sure. They are 99% sure that the test is going to come back negative, but they want to prescribe it anyway, just to kind of protect themselves and also to protect you. So there are going to be some tests. So you got to ask some questions. What is a test going to say? What's it going to tell you? Is it going to tell you anything? What does it involve? If you're going to have a CT scan, or if you're going to have an X-ray, or if you're going to have any kind of procedure, how should I get ready? What should I do to prepare for this thing? Are there any dangers or side effects to the tests that are going to come up? And is it really necessary? Guys have to go in for a colonoscopy every once in a while, Not a pleasant experience when you have to take that prep, but, it's what you do. And it's one of those things that you want to talk to the doctor about. Whatever the procedure is, whatever the test is going to be, what's it going to look like? How do I prepare? Do I fast? Do I take certain medications? Do I not take any medications? All that kind of things goes on to prepare for your test. And it can be kind of an important time when you really grill the doctor about that particular test. And if you don't do that, then you might show up for the test and find out that, oh, I already ate, I'm not supposed to eat. Or I didn't eat, I'm supposed to eat. Something like that. So ask about those medical tests. And then lastly is the key partner to your whole healthcare picture is your pharmacist. I believe that the pharmacist is probably one of the most underutilized members of your healthcare team. Pharmacists are great. They're readily available. Doesn't cost much to go see them. They're right there, and they can give you some really good information. So that's what you want to do, is go and see the pharmacist, and pretty much the same kind of approach will be seen at the pharmacy. So at the pharmacy, use only one pharmacy, if at all possible, because your doctor only knows what your doctor prescribes. Your doctor may not know what the other physicians and other healthcare providers that you have are prescribing for you. So this may be the only chance for anyone to have a complete picture of what you've got. So only use that one pharmacy. Also, by using that one pharmacy, they on their computer system, they're able to say this drug and this drug put together are dangerous, and you shouldn't take them. And they can call your doctor and see if there's another avenue to go, because this, the side effect of these two drugs could be just tremendously damaging. So it's a safety valve to use that one pharmacy. What you can do if you have to use two pharmacies is to take your prescription drug list from pharmacy A and give it to pharmacy B. They can enter it into the computer even if they're not prescribing it. Likewise, the drug list from pharmacy B, take to pharmacy A, and they'll do the same thing. So they both have a complete picture of everything that you're taking. That's probably one of the most important things that you can do. Make sure your health information, your health insurance information is correct at the pharmacy. You're really going to need to do that, because otherwise you're going to be spending a lot of money. What I do, quite honestly, when I go to the pharmacy and I have a new prescription, I ask the pharmacy, if you charge my insurance, what's it going to cost? If you don't charge my insurance and I pay for it out of pocket, what's it going to cost? And I found that sometimes, believe it or not, it's cheaper to pay out of pocket than it is to use my insurance. Why? I have no idea. But it's one of those little quirks that you might want to it's a simple question, you might want to ask. If I pay for insurance, with insurance, what's it going to cost me? What's my copay? On the other hand, if I pay out of pocket, what's it going to cost me? You may be surprised, you may not, but it's worth a question. Bring up any kind of other allergies or any kind of reactions you have had to other prescriptions. That's always important. Ask about generic drugs. Sometimes generic drugs are a whole lot cheaper. Most insurance companies will require that you start with a generic and then move to a brand name and move up the tiers. They usually start you on the least expensive drug for everyone and then move you up. But you might want to just ask about generics if you're prescribed a brand name. And the other issue is ask about cost. You know, if you can't afford the drug, you know, for heaven's sakes, ask about other alternatives, because there are ways around, workaround that a pharmacist can do. And pharmacists sometimes can be very creative with alternatives. And they can communicate with your doctor. So talk about cost, because as we know, prescription drugs can be very, very expensive. Ask questions. Ask any question that you have in mind. about your drug. And these are including things like your dosage, how much should I take, how often should I take it, what do I do if I miss a dose? So if I'm supposed to take one at breakfast and dinner, and I miss the breakfast one, do I take it at lunch, or do I just wait until dinner? If I'm supposed to take a drug certain times of the day, and I forget about it, do I just bag it, or do I take 2 at dinner? Those are really simple questions, but they're important questions. And the pharmacist can help clarify and walk you through that if there's such a problem. When to take it and how to take it. Most drugs are very, very specific about whether to take with food or without food, on an empty stomach. So I've got, many times you'll see a drug that has to be taken without food. So maybe it's, last thing at night, before you go to bed. Other drugs you got to take before you go to sleep, so that they operate while you're sleeping. Other drugs you've got to take when you're out moving around, so they don't just sit in your digestive tract and just sit there. You got to move around. So be sure and ask about when to take the drug and how much to take, with food or without food. What about milk? What about grape juice, or grapefruit juice, and alcohol? Those can be potentially very dangerous, especially grapefruit juice. It seems to have a lot of interactions with other drugs. So ask about that. If grapefruit juice is one of your routines, ask about whether you can have that with this particular drug. Be sensitive to side effects, any kind of reactions. One pharmacist that I talked with said very honestly that every drug, just know this, every drug causes a side effect. Now it may be very, very minor and you might not even notice it, but it does cause a side effect. So just be alert. When you're taking a new prescription, be very, very sensitive, be very, very alert to what your body is telling you. Because it may be telling you that this is not a good thing. It could be you'll find yourself feeling sweaty or shaky or losing balance or blurred vision, blurred speech. Could be any number of things. Just be very, very sensitive, primarily when you've got a new prescription. Be very careful, and then call the pharmacist if you see a problem, and the pharmacist can call the doctor, and they can take care of things from there. So watch those interactions with the other drugs. Usually if you take 1 or 2 drugs, not a problem, but it's when you have multiple drugs. The average for seniors over 65 is 7 prescriptions. So if you're taking 3 prescriptions, somebody else has to make up for you. So, but the average is 7. So if you're somewhere in that ballpark, you're pretty average for folks. So watch those interactions, not just the side effect of a drug, but the interactions of many drugs in your system. And again, we're going back, you got to be sensitive to the fact that you're taking other over-the-counter medications. So be very, very sensitive to that. And also those over-the-counter products, read them very carefully. There's an assumption that you can have that every over-the-counter prescription or every over-the-counter product that you buy was at one point in time a prescription. And through the deregulation process, it's moved from a prescription to an over-the-counter. So it's right there on the shelf, but it can be just as serious. So if you're going to take an over-the-counter product, talk with your pharmacist first. The pharmacist can really help you, and it can be particularly dangerous if you don't talk to the pharmacist. Sometimes you got to ask about exposure to sun. If we're getting into the sunny weather, what's it going to do if I'm exposed to the sun? Some drugs, believe it or not, you should wear long sleeves and a hat because you're taking it. Other drugs don't have that kind of consequence, but be very, very sensitive to that. Ask about where and how you should store the drug. The reality is, where do we keep the drugs? In the bathroom. What's the worst place to store a drug? In the bathroom. Why? Because it's hot, because it's humid, and because it's got the most light of any room in the house. And most of the time, the pharmacist will tell you store in a cool, dry, dark place. So ask about storage instructions. Some drugs have to be refrigerated. Ask about that. If you have trouble swallowing pills, talk about that. Some people just cannot take pills, okay? What are the solutions? The pharmacist can help you figure that one out. And the last thing that I wanted to mention was the readability of the instructions. If you ever try to read the instructions that you get from the pharmacist, they're written in little tiny type. And you've got to have a microscope to read those things. Not a magnifying glass, a microscope. Ask the pharmacist if they have anything in large print, and most of them do, but you have to ask. They have alternative formats for all of those prescriptions and the directions that you want to be alert to. So be sure and ask about the readability of the instructions. It's very normal for a lot of folks to not be able to read those things. So ask about that. Another little thing that you can do at the pharmacy is what's called a brown bag review. That is one of the neatest things that a pharmacist will ever do. You put all your prescriptions in a brown bag. And all that over-the-counter stuff too that we talked about earlier. Put it all in a brown bag. Call in advance, but just tell the pharmacist, I want to come in for a brown bag review. What time can I do it? Well, it probably won't be on a weekday at 5 o'clock, because that's their busiest time. But they'll have you come in at another time, and they'll just go through everything that you've got there and take a look at what you're taking. They sometimes will find out that people are savers, you know. We get a prescription and we keep taking that prescription even though the doctor changed us to another prescription in place of this one, but we're still taking this one in addition to the new one. And that can perpetuate itself. And sometimes the pharmacy doesn't drop the old one from its list. And you've still got this new one and the old one going. So the pharmacy brown bag can reveal some of those duplications in your prescription list. And you know, the pharmacist will also talk to you about the same thing. Do you drink milk? Do you drink grapefruit juice? Do you have a glass of wine? Are you taking any of the CBD stuff, the cannabis, the oils? They'll do the whole thing, and they'll reveal some duplications perhaps, and some potentially dangerous interactions, and they can help correct the situation. The pharmacist can get in touch with your doctor and really save a life. I think that brown bag review is one of the real treasures that the pharmacist can offer you. A couple other things I wanted to mention at the pharmacy. There are some accessible labels now that technology has entered in. There's one where you literally put the container on a little, it almost looks like an iPhone, and it will verbally tell you what the prescription is and what the dosage is. There's another one that will has a little technology. You've seen those greeting cards, you open it up and it sings a song? Well, it's kind of like that. You press a little space on the side of the bottle and it will voice what the prescription is and what the dosage is. So there's all kinds of different things you can ask for at the pharmacy. So some of the big don'ts, just to wrap up, don't share prescriptions. It kills me when I see people say, you know, they're gathered around with some friends and they're saying, you know, I've got a bad shoulder, it really hurts, and another person says, well, I had a bad shoulder and it really hurt me for a long time. Then the doctor gave me these pills, and these pills are great. Here, try some. And I go, oh, no. Don't share prescriptions, because prescriptions are oftentimes given to a person with an awareness of their weight, their body mass, other drugs that they're taking, lifestyle, age, all kinds of different considerations. So sharing prescriptions is never a good thing. Splitting pills to make them last longer, you know, that will simply eliminate half the potency of the pill. It's just a dangerous thing to do. If you can't afford the prescription, talk to the doctor and talk to the pharmacist and see what kind of alternatives there are. Don't skip a dose or reduce a dose. If you're feeling particularly weak or whatever, don't double the dose. Just follow it as prescribed, and if there's any problems, again, talk to the pharmacist, talk to your doctor. Don't put them in a bowl. I know I heard of a fellow once who couldn't manage his drugs, so he put them all in this big bowl, and he just fetched whatever he wanted out of this big bowl, and he didn't know what they were, but that was okay because he was taking his meds like the doctor told him to, although he didn't know exactly what they were. Another fellow decided he couldn't keep them straight either, so on Monday he took the white pills, on Tuesday he took the green pills, on Wednesday he put the blue pills. So, don't do that. Keep the prescriptions in their original bottles. If the date on them is expired for whatever reason, get rid of them. We ask that you don't throw them out in the garbage. Many pharmacies have take-back programs where you can take a prescription, no matter what it was, take it back, and they will safely dispose of it. Don't flush them down the toilet. Don't throw them in the garbage. Take them back to a pharmacy, which will really be a great service. Don't duplicate your meds, like I said earlier. If, like some people, like I go back to my dad, a wonderful man, but he said, if one is good, two is better. It's not that case. So don't duplicate your meds, and don't take them needlessly. If the doctor says take when you feel a particular way, take it only then. It's not a good thing to take them every day if we don't need to take the prescription every day. Those are all kind of important issues to keep in mind. So that's kind of our little idea about talking with your doctor. Communication is essential. If you have a spouse or a friend, a confidant, talk to them about the drugs that you're taking. It's a good thing to let people know so that they can all help you when the need comes. At the Aging and Disability Resource Center, we have what we call the File of Life, and we'd be happy to mail you one. It's a little plastic tool that goes on your refrigerator, and if you ever have a health emergency at home, the paramedics will use that as a quick tool to help serve your needs. It has your emergency contact information, all of your prescriptions, all of your allergies, any kind of medical condition that you have. It's all right there in one place, and it can be a real lifesaver for you. So if you'd like any of the File of Life, we'd be happy to give it to you. The fire department, the medical EMTs love to have that kind of thing right handy for them if they ever come to your house. And if you have to go to the hospital in an emergency, all you do is pop it off the refrigerator and take it with you, and you've got everything that you need right there. So it's a great tool. So the information I shared with you really came from the National Institute of Health and National Institute on Aging, and they put together most of this material, and then we added some more from Pierce County here. And we really hope that you take to heart that talking with your doctor is going to take some work. It's going to take some homework on your part before you go. It's going to take some active listening while you're at the doctor, and it's going to take some good follow-up with your pharmacist afterwards. And even after that, it's going to take some ongoing communication to keep that effectiveness of all of your prescription drugs. So I want to thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us, Pierce County Aging and Disability Resource Center, at 253-798-4600. That number is 253-798-4600, Pierce County Aging and Disability Resource Center. So keep that number handy, as well as your doctor and your pharmacist. Hey, have a great day and be safe. Thank you.